Hello, my name is Ankur, and in this video, I am going to be talking about permissions in a LabKey EHR project. It is an open source project available to build locally from GitHub. As you can see, for the video purposes, I have the test setup running locally here. Before diving into permissions, I would like to show the basic setup things that I have right now. So I have a project called EHR app. And inside that project, there is a folder EHR. That's just basic setup of a very minimal setup of EHR project. And the important pieces for the permissions are the users. So here I only have one user, that is myself, that's an admin. So let us start by creating users here to illustrate the permissions better. Instead of Okay, I've added two users. I don't need to send any verification emails to them. Done. So here we have two users. Um, Now, if I go back to the project folder, EHR, and go to the gear icon on the top and folder permissions. So right now, as we can see, here are many roles, by default roles that come with LabKey server, reader, submitter, and all those. And some of the EHR specific ones are EHR data admin, requester, EHR data entry. So LabKey has role-based permissions, and a role is just a set of permissions that define what a user can do. And we can see here on LabKey documentation, it is available to everyone. uh, a table showing the common roles assigned in LabKey. So, for example, let's take a simple example of the reader role. Reader role only has the read permissions and they do not have any other permissions, whereas an admin, administrator, as I mentioned earlier, the roles are set of permissions. So, administrator role is a set of read, insert, update, and everything else. As we see in this list, uh, it's that kind of role. Now, coming back here and starting with the groups. So we can, so groups are a collection of users. So we can assign a group to these roles or individual users as well. But it's good to group the users together because in the organizations we have more than one user belonging to a particular class of function or a group. So here, if I just create a basic submitter group, and that's just the name that I am choosing. It can be anything. The important thing is to create the naming of the project groups different than the roles here to not confuse ourselves. Yeah. So make sure that there is no EHR basic submitter role here. Looks like there is not. So let's create a new group for that. And as you recall earlier, I created two users. So let me add one of them users here in this group. Done. Um, Now going back to permissions, before going back anywhere, let me show you the permissions that this user has right now or group that has right now. So each are basic submitter. So that group or the user does not have any permissions at all as of now because we have not assigned that group or that user to any of the roles that we saw earlier. So if I stop impersonating and go back to the folder permissions and assign that group to, let's take a simple example on of EHR data entry. So as this says, this role is required in order to submit data into any EHR table. However, having this role alone is not sufficient for data entry. So let me explain what does this mean. So if I assign uh, EHR. basic submitter to this role and save and finish. So this role has some read permissions. So if I now impersonate that group again, they will be able to see the EHR page, which has basic read permissions. And if I go to enter data right now, they don't see anything for the data entry forms. That is, and that was a part of this. Sorry, that was a part of the description mentioned in the EHR data entry role that assigning this role will not be just sufficient for the data entry. Per table, permissions are set through study admin. So now the second level of security is study security, and more documentation can be found here on labkey.org, which is available to all. As you can see, I'm not signed in. And then if I go to study security, and here this is a table that defines the roles and the access details that need to be explicitly granted. So for EHR basic submitter, right now it is set to none. So if we switch to per dataset, that means we can assign this group the permission for per dataset. So let me update this. And now these are all the data sets that I have in my local setup. So here we see that EHR basic submitter group listed out here. And if I give my access to alias dataset for the basic submitter and save. And now if I go back to EHR, impersonate the EHR basic submitter group and go to enter data, I will see the alias here. So as we just saw that assigning two levels of security here, one is the permissions at the folder level, the roles at the folder level, which is EHR data entry, and another is the study security, assigning the security per dataset for that basic role. And now if I go back um, to the EHR data entry page, you can see that I'm not impersonating, and I can see all the data entry forms that are available in this basic setup. Now, to further show the difference between the admin and the EHR data entry permission is if I go into the form, right now I'm an admin, I can see there are buttons that I see here, save draft, submit final, and there is a force submit button as an admin. But if I impersonate that group, the basic submitter, which just has the limited permissions, here I can see that I do not see submit final. I do not see the force submit button. So we can increase the permissions for that group. We can reduce the permissions for that group. Uh, yes, that would be all for this video. Hopefully, it helps clearing some of the concepts of two-level security in LabKey. And if you need more information, please drop the comments below.